Hello, in this demonstration I will show you a method of cutting a half lap joint. This is a follow-up of a previous video on making a timber painting stretcher. So we're going to concentrate in this video on the bracing supports for the stretcher. So we have this bracing that goes this way. That's a single brace, of vertical or horizontal, depending if it's a landscape or portrait. So you probably will then, as the frame gets bigger, because with this kind of construction you can make this any size you want, you will probably need to have a cross brace. So it then looks like that. Take that out. So a half lap is literally half of the timber section. So when they go together, they're completely flush. That makes a very, very strong joint. And then when it's screwed into the stretcher, the whole thing becomes a very stable frame. So how to mark out the first part of the stretcher, the bracing. So we're going to concentrate on this part here. So I have a spare piece of timber which is left over from when I made the whole frame, so that's the end of the timber. And I'm going to mark it up so it fits between the inside of the frame. So I'm going to put it on the outside of the frame, and I'm using a set square, and I'm going to mark the inside so I can mark the bracing. So we've got a mark here and a mark here, which is the parallel of the inside. So this has got a 90-degree cut, so I'm just going to line it up with the inside edge. Now on the longer piece of wood, this is going to be quite awkward to keep this from not sliding about. So it is probably a good idea to use a G-clamp, and that way it's quite stable and it's not going to move when you mark it up. So I'm going to mark the inside on this brace. And I'm also going to mark out where you put the positions of the braces when they finally get fixed into the frame. So I'm going to square that across as well. Put that to one side. I'm going to now square all the way round the timber as accurately as I can. So this bit is a bit we'll cut at 90-degree angle, and that means that's part of the waist. So that would then be the right length to go inside the painting stretcher. I always work from a center line, so when you're marking up, it's much easier to work from a center line on the timber. So you need to put a center line in, and it's quite good to work from a center line anyway. So we're going to try and aim to have the timber lining up, and so I'm going to mark a line here which is the center of that, using a combination square. Turn that over. Combination square is very useful because it has a 90-degree angle, it can do a depth, and it has a 45-degree angle as well, and this part of the ruler can be adjusted. now we've got the position of, we have now have the position where we're going to put the cut for the half lap. So in other words, that is going to go like that. So I'll put that there. So I'm just going to line it up with the center line and then mark it as best I can, as accurately as I can. So this becomes the waist. So that then goes, so that's the waist, so that then is going to be the cut, and that then goes down into the half flap you've already cut. Now you need to divide that into half. So I have another combination square which I've already set. So you need to put a line there, which is where you're going to work to, or cut down to. So I'm just going to now square that that way. So that now is the waist. I like to use these. This is just a gauge, old-fashioned gauge, and it's got a point on it, so you can adjust this to any depth you want. And I've already preset it, but I like to put a trench or groove here. It makes the cutting, when you cut the waist out, much easier. So I put a groove in it. I'll do the on the other side as well. So I'll put a groove in it. So this is the waist, and this is what we're going to cut down to. Now if you're confident enough, a Stanley knife is quite good. Be very cautious about using Stanley knives, so be safe with it. So if you score a line down that groove, and then do the other side as well, this helps you clear the waste from the material, so from the brace. And I would also score all the way round with it as well, and that stops any breakout from when you're using the saw or any cutout. I'm just cutting all the way round it, or scoring all the way round it, being careful not to slip, because it is steel against steel. It's like an ice skating ring. So you've now scored it all around, you've put a groove in it, and now it's ready for cutting. Removing the waste. Just put that to one side, up a bit. Now I have my bench hook here, and that's what a bench hook looks like. I make my own, but you can buy these, and they're very reasonably priced. So they're just wooden bench hooks. They're very useful. But on this one, I've put a batten on, screwed it down so it's nice and firm, but I screwed a batten onto this to help me with the demonstration. So this is what we're going to cut. So this is what we've just marked out, and I'm now just going to place it onto the bench hook, and I'm going to clamp it down with 2G clamps. and I put a piece of card there so I don't end up bruising the timber. It doesn't look very good. Just a bit of adjustment. Yes. It's nice and firm. Yes, nice and firm. Now tighten that up. Okay. So now we're going to cut it. We need to cut this on the waist side. So this, in other words, the inside. So we're cutting on the waist side. That makes the joint really nice and tight. So I'm going to use a tenon saw, fine tooth tenon saw, and then these are not incredibly expensive, and you might be able to get one at a car boot sale or eBay. I'm going to place the saw on the waist side, and I'm just going to gently pull it back until I start making a groove. So I've made a groove all the way along the pencil line, and I'm going to try and use the whole length of the saw and not wobble around too much. Let the saw do the job. Just don't push it. Just let the saw just cut its way through the timber. And I'm going to cut down to the groove or the line I've put in the centre of the timber. I'll show you that in a minute. And I do the cheeks or the sides first. So as you cut through it, just slow up as you come to the end. And because this batten is the same height as the cut, or the on the other side, as soon as I get to the timber, I know I have to stop. See what that looks like. Put those out of the way. Okay, so I've cut down to the line. Now it could be that you could turn it round the other way and just check that and just run the saw through, make sure that it has cleared right down to the base of where that you want it to finish. Now this is the one I did earlier, and so did earlier for the demonstration. And as you can see, will make lots of cuts across this after I've cut the two sides or the two cheeks. So I'm now going to put the G-clamps back on. Now by putting in lots of saw cuts, you're weakening the timber, and you're clearing the waste right to the bottom of the half lap. This makes chiseling out much easier. Right, that's now tight. Now it's ready for using a chisel. Now all my tin or tools, chisels are wooden handles. So with a wooden handle chisel, you need to use a rubber mallet. So I'm going to use the chisel, and I'm going to cut upwards, not down, but upwards. So I'm going to place the tip, the sharp bit of the chisel in near to the groove as possible. This is the widest one that would fit within this measurement. So if you can make it wider, if possible, that's great. So I'm just going to strike the end of the handle, and as you can see, it comes out quite easily. Just a few taps. Turn the blade the other way, and if you hold it with finger and thumb and close to the end of the chisel, try and take out as much of the waste here as possible. It may be that you have to turn the wood the other way to come from the other side. Okay, that's very good. We're sort of coming to the end of the demonstration now, and we'll just remove this and put it to one side and go back to the demonstration stretcher. So hopefully you've now successfully cut all the half laps on all the braces. You could put a screw in the centre of that or even glue it, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary. So we're now concentrating on fixing. It's a nice neat fit. It lines up with the centre lines. So how do we fix it? Well, when I marked the ends, the thirds here, I would have carried on thirds here, so you have two screw positions. You make sure that the screws are long enough. It's not necessary to glue it. So the screws, then you drill a pilot hole into the frame just to help the screws, because if you just try and drive the screws into the wood, it will split. So you need to put a small pilot hole which is smaller than the width of the screws. So the screws, make sure that they do actually go into the timber, and then do that for all sides. That then makes a very, very strong and stable stretcher. So we've come to the end of this demonstration. I do hope there's some takeaways for you and you enjoy watching the video. Thank you so much for watching.